My other committee is the Access to Information Ethics, Privacy and Ethics Committee, and while notably it prosecutes liberal scandals, it also does a lot with privacy. So I would ask the officials if they could weigh in, and I appreciate Ms. O'Connell's statement about not being necessary, but I would ask if the officials could weigh in about specific application of the privacy-related sphere in this, and whether the amendments make a notable difference compared to what is currently listed in the Act versus what is in Bill C-26, and its application to the myriad of privacy rules associated with that overlap here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. Perhaps I'd first start with the protections that exist and then explain what this amendment would do over and above that. There are already restrictions in the text on the ability to share confidential information, which would include personal information. 15.7 paragraph 1 has a prohibition on sharing information that's designated as confidential. And furthermore, paragraph 2 states that even sharing non-confidential information cannot be done if it would be used in a purpose that would be penal. And then we've had some amendments today to further clarify the designation of personal information as confidential in the application of the Privacy Act. What this amendment would do is specify that sharing any of the information that is collected with another party has a notification requirement that goes with it. So it doesn't prohibit the sharing, it says we need to notify the parties. Given that personal information would already be restricted from being shared to begin with, essentially we'd be talking about notifying the telecom operators each time we share non-sensitive information with an ally. Essentially, we'd collect a range of information such as describe the number of cyber incidents over the past year and the causes of those amendments, the causes of those incidents. Yes. Were we to share that information, we then have to, with an ally, we then have to notify each of the telcos when we shared that information. So it has, on the one hand, there are protections regarding personal information that exist. On the other, it does create an unusual circumstance where we would be notifying the telecom community of international relations discussions.
Just to follow up on that, so I know throughout, and there's often exceptions. So for national security and whatnot, how can Canadians trust that when an exception may be laid out in either C-26 as it is notable, and this is larger than the conversation about this current section, but the minister is given discretion quite often to ensure that they can use information if it's related to national security, et cetera. How can Canadians trust that that right balance is struck? This is a little bit of a bigger conversation, but I think it'll help speed up some of the other amendments forthcoming. If you could maybe outline just the processes that are in place to ensure that privacy is in fact protected, and that when an exemption may be laid out in legislation, that's not opening up for abuse.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the question. So first, starting with the scope of the information that can be collected, it can only be collected if it's related to an order to protect the Canadian telecommunications system, to inform the development of an order or the enforcement or promoting compliance with an order. Off the bat, the information of concern is not personal information. It is corporate information of the telecom operators that own and operate the telecom networks that we're dealing with. The personal information, web browsing behavior, or what have you, is not germane to that, and we cannot collect information that's out of the scope of the existing text. The amendments that were passed just now further make it clear that in the provisions for designating confidentiality, so there's a number of factors that allow for what information can be designated as confidential. It makes it clear that personal and de-identified information is captured as there, along with making it clear that the Privacy Act applies. And then finally, under 15.7, there are two provisions that state, for instance, that any information that was designated as confidential, for instance, personal information that was designated as confidential, cannot be disclosed internationally within this scope. So at a few different steps, either in terms of what information can be collected at the outset, or if by some chance personal information was provided by accident, the limitations on what we could do with that information set out a regime here that does not involve ministerial discretion.